started was my dad was a wrestling coach from as long as I could remember. Always went with him to different meets and practices, and started doing some youth wrestling. And I think I started competing when I was around 8 years old. And then as it went on, got into higher level type wrestling, where state championship type stuff. Then obviously went into middle school wrestling, and he was the coach here at the time. And as a freshman, came in, had some big goals, and went well. Matter of fact, I was undefeated all the way through to the regional finals, and I had gotten beat, which was my first loss in high school. And it kind of set me up for that state tournament that year. Kind of an underdog, obviously a freshman, 15 years old, going in there wrestling with 275-pound seniors. But things happened the way they did, and I was able to make it through into the finals and win the title as a freshman.
And so him being strong enough and him having a lot of experience, and frankly it was an open year where there wasn't any two-time state champions coming back. It was a year where it was pretty much undefined, and he certainly beat some good people along the way. But I just think it was a combination of just a lot of things that had gone on throughout his life before that point. The real challenge, of course, would be to maintain that level from that point forward, and still have interest in other things, which he was very active athletically. He played baseball for a time, and then of course he played football. And he's a pretty normal young man.
Okay. When I think of Matt Brink, I think of the classic immovable object. He was his stature. I can still see him out on the mat, and he was short and thick, and really impossible to move, really. But on top of his physical skills, he was just so wrestling smart, and a lot of that goes back to his dad. Matt was learning about the sport of wrestling basically from the time he was born.
It was normal. I mean, he was always there. He was always in the corner from a young age all the way through high school. So we worked well together. There was some times where, I had to tell him to keep it down there on the sidelines, because he'd get a little too excited, which would cause me to have some anxiety, but we worked well together. And
I was also assistant coach for Dan Brink for a couple of years. I had some wrestling experience coaching when I was at Muskegon, and when I came to Fruitport, Dan approached me about being his assistant coach. And I think he really did that because I was a throwing dummy for Matt. I think I wrestled Matt just about every day up in the wrestling room, and I had to give Matt some rules about not placing my butt above my head. And when I said let go means let go. And it was just a lot of fun to be around both of them, to watch the father-son relationship and being able to see it develop, and also see that coach-athlete relationship. It was impressive to see.
The sophomore year was probably my hardest year. Just felt a lot of pressure coming off doing what I did as a freshman, and made it through the whole year not getting beat. I had some close matches into the state finals, and in my opinion, I think it was just too much. Matter of fact, I got beat by a kid who my freshman year I had pinned in a tournament over in Williamston, and beat in that same tournament my sophomore year 14-3. So losing to him, it was tough, but sometimes that happens in sports. I really thought I was going to play football in college, honestly. So during that match, obviously I wanted to win, and wanted to go out, as the champion. And I thought that was going to be my last match, but the way it went, I ended up going on to wrestle for University of Michigan, and I had a successful career there too. So
the fact that he won, or he advanced to the state finals, 4 straight years, all as a heavyweight. Now, if you look back at the number of people in the state who have 4-time state finalists, it's a very short list. But most of them were in the lighter weights, maybe 125 pounds, and then they might move up to 130 pounds the next year. But to go in as a freshman, a 15-year-old freshman, and win the heavyweight state title against some of these guys who look like full-grown men. Some of them had full beards and mustaches. And here was Matt Brink as a 15-year-old and winning the heavyweight state championship. To me, that's one of the most amazing sports accomplishments that I covered.
You know, Matt was always giving his absolute very best because he knew that his dad required it. And I think all the wrestlers that wrestled under Dan felt that way, that they were being pushed. And Dan really, he was an outstanding wrestler in his own right at the University of Michigan. And I think the kids looked up to him as a coach and knew that you know, he knew what he was doing on the mat. And I think that he really developed a great program here.
Yeah, almost every one of his wins was a pin. He had 167 wins in his career, 147 pins, which is really an amazing stat.
I was fortunate enough to make the varsity team as a freshman. So I was on 4 years. I played for Steve Wilson. I was honorable mention All-State as a junior, and then as a senior, I was voted in to be first team All-State. So I always enjoyed football, always enjoyed it. I could have either went, let's say, to a smaller college for football or to University of Michigan for wrestling. And you know, I'd been wrestling my whole life and I love wrestling, so I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. So I went to Michigan, and my dad actually also went to Michigan. He was an All-American back in the 70s. So that was something that was in the back of my mind that we talked about. There's only been a handful of father-sons that have went to Michigan and both been All-Americans, and we're one of those.
Moving on to Matt Brink. You say the Brink name around Fruitport and people know who you're talking about. Matt Brink was a stellar prep athlete, played both football and wrestled, earning all-state honors in both sports. Even as a freshman, he garnered varsity letters in both sports for all 4 years. As a wrestler, he was a state finalist all 4 years and state champion 3 years. His high school record, 167-2. You don't hear about that. He was recognized as the state's best wrestler in receiving the Dave Schultz Award and was a member of the first USA Dream Team. He was named to the prestigious Muskegon Area Hall of Fame Student Athlete of the Year in 1997. Having received a full-ride scholarship to the University of Michigan, Matt was a 4-time All-Big Ten selection and NCAA National Qualifier. He was among the top 20 wrestlers in the University of Michigan's history to earn over 100 wins. He twice earned All-American status and was captain his senior year. Matt now works at East Muskegon Roofing and Reese Puffer High School, and like most Fruitport grads, he's giving back to his community. Please welcome Matt Brink.
All right, thank you very much. First off, start off by saying, very honored to be a part of this first group of individuals being inducted into the Hall of Fame here at Fruitport. I would like to talk about 3 areas that I feel contributed a lot to my success as an athlete. First being my parents. They were always committed to the sports I decided to be involved in. They always did the things necessary to position me to succeed at the next level, and there's no doubt without them I wouldn't have been able to accomplish what I did. So second area I was fortunate to have is coaches at all levels, not just in college and high school, but I had good youth coaches who instilled some things that I was able to take into my career as I got older. And the next is teammates that push me on a daily basis to achieve the goals at each level that I was able to wrestle at. So. And then last but not least, Fruitport Public Schools and the people involved with coming up with this idea to honor individuals that have set some high standards for the youth, and I think it's important that kids, future generations can look up and try to achieve more than we did when we were there. So, thank you very much.